Sports Nation. How y'all doing, everybody? This is Daryl Wren. I'll be your host today once again for another edition of Kroc Sports Talk. Hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July holiday. Hope you didn't eat too much barbecue and whatnot. I'm also here with my other hosts, Miss Jackie Foster, Mr. Darius Jackson, and a little later, Mr. Jason Dawson. We're going to come at y'all with what's going on right now in sports. It's a lot to talk about, so we might as well jump back into it. But before we do, we have a continuation of last week's sports poll question, which was, should there be sports in 2020? Last week we were tied. We ended up in a tie. Any more votes come in? What's the tally now? How we looking, everybody? Darius?
I believe it was still 11-11 last time we checked.
It's still a tie.
Yeah.
All right. So after 2 weeks of this same question, it's still a tie. So guess what? It's going to remain a tie because we're not going into another week with this question. So it's 50-50 out there whether it should be sports or not. I think it's safe to say that we all want to see sports, but just in light of the situation, some people feel that, myself included, that it's just not, practical right now. Others feel, hey, if not now, when? So it's not necessarily anybody right or wrong, but, we'll see what happens moving forward. Okay. Speaking of sports, Major League Baseball is still set to start the season roughly around July 23rd, July 24th. However, over the past few days, as more testing is taking place, it looks like 2 members of the White Sox have contracted the virus. 2 members of the Washington Nationals have contracted the virus. I want to say 4 to 6 members of the Atlanta Braves have contracted the virus. Jackie, it's been a long time since I've been in school. You're much younger than me, so you still got a remembrance of school, whereas I don't. But when I was in school, usually when you ran into a certain amount of obstacles before you started something, it was probably best to not start it. Talk to me, what do you think about baseball in its current state? They're still on schedule to start, but now more and more players are testing positive. Is this even possible?
I definitely agree with what you're saying. I don't understand why they still trying to make it happen. The more testing they do, the more people they find that they're positive.
Yeah.
Cases. So it's like, why not just shut it down until you know that everybody is healthy?
That just seemed basic to me. Darius, what about you? That's right. That's what's up.
when it comes to it, or when they look down, it seems like they just want to get the season started. Doing it with all the new testing and everybody being tested, I believe that we'll even see more players be positive. And when it comes to the MLB, they really haven't sent out or showed us any contingency plan as far as how they're going to handle it. If they're going to pull out, if they're not going to pull out. Like the NBA said, if they get people to get test positive, they're going to stay. So I don't know how MLB is going to do or what they're going to do. We just found out, 2 weeks ago that they were even going to have a season. So we shall see how this works out with players now testing positive, as well as different states like Florida. Florida, I believe now is going back to maybe a different phase. I believe phase 2 or 3, I believe it is. So we'll see how everything plays out, but it don't look good so far.
Okay. This is my take on all of this. All right. It's still slated to restart. Now, baseball was the last major sport to get its act together when it came to even attempting this. And then, I actually didn't know for sure until last week, baseball is talking about traveling. They're not going to be in a bubble. They are actually, even though it's just going to be, they're only playing within their division, but still, you got to travel. All right? So that means, whether you're on planes or if it's really close, buses, what have you, to me, you're more exposed. So I ask the question one more time. Of course, the more testing you do, the more you're going to find out. You're going to have more people that contract the virus. I still go back, even if you start this, help me somebody. How are you going to finish it? I'm going to go back to you, Darius. Even if we get this kicked off, how do we finish it? Do you see it being a possibility?
If as of right now, no, it doesn't look like it could be a possibility. Even if you start the season that will finish with everybody being safe, especially with the travel plans. We don't have a vaccine yet. Until we have a vaccine to where somebody has it, give them a vaccine, they can be able to get rid of or cure it within a couple days, then maybe we should maybe look towards that. But I can't see it continuing or somebody getting sick. What if you have 2 or 3 players get sick? What if you have 10 players get sick? 10 players on a baseball team is a huge chunk.
Right. What? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Jack, if you get sick, what happens? You just get kicked off the team. What happens?
Exactly. And
Get some replacement players.
It doesn't really make sense to me because, you know, their season hadn't started. I get like the NBA, they started their season, so they want to finish. They want to be able to crown champion. But with MLB, their season never started, so why not just take the whole year off and regroup for next year?
Right. It's not like they ain't did it before. Well, not when they canceled the whole season. But, you know, those are older, they're my age or older, remember the strike of '94 when there was no World Series. This isn't unprecedented. And that's a great point, Jackie. At least with the NBA or even the NHL, you can kind of more understand them. They're trying to crown a champion, you know, because their seasons had started and they were close to the end. Baseball hasn't even started because, to me, the biggest joke with baseball right now, baseball announced last week that they are going to cancel the All-Star game for this year. Why? Why? Okay, so let me understand this. Let me, I'm from the West Side. I went to inner city school, Westinghouse, that's my school, Warriors. But, you know, Westinghouse will never be confused with, at least back in the day, high academia, right? Okay, nevertheless, I'm proud of my school. If you can start the season, why can't you play the All-Star game? What's the problem? You're playing? Then my question too was, okay, if you were going to play the All-Star game, Jackie, I'm going to bounce back to you. Y'all ain't played all year. So how are you going to determine who's an All-Star? You just go off last year's numbers? Talk to me, Jackie. This sounds like something I did.
Yeah, I don't get with a shortened season. How like you said, how are you going to even determine who's an all-star and who's not? Like 20 games in, 30 games in, you just really getting comfortable with your team. So it's like I don't know.
So if you didn't test positive, you all-star, and if you did, you ain't. Darius, talk to me.
I was just going to say, I wonder what those 30-game All-Stars would look like.
Right.
You'll be having people you never heard of before. Some of these guys, because like you said, with people testing positive, you got to bring other guys in. You may never know. You get 30 games to be an All-Star, why not? Check it out. See how it goes. But it'll be a whole different type of game as far as the All-Star game. But, hey, they had to announce it, right?
Right. All we can say is, hey, baseball, we'll wait and see. I'm curious to see how this movie ends. I truly am. But we'll stay tuned on it, y'all. One good thing that I feel came out of the most recent talks regarding baseball, but this isn't Major League Baseball, this is Little League Baseball. The Jackie Robinson team can now seek reinstatement. And everybody remembers the 2014 Jackie Robinson team that went all the way, to the World Championship and lost. And then, of course, we had the controversy with they were coming up with some of the players were ineligible because they didn't live in certain areas and whatnot. Darius, how do you feel about the team being able to now seek possible reinstatement?
I think it's something more so a good thing for the kids who participated because in the end it wasn't their fault. It was their product of them stepping on the field and them being able to play the actual game and them doing what they did. I think it's something that should be honored as far as them. They should be reinstated. Like, once again, this is a decision of something that they had no process or maybe had nothing to do with. They just played the game that they love so much. So to see them get reinstated or to see them possibly be reinstated, it's a great thing.
Jackie, what about you?
Yeah, I don't think that there should have ever been like a situation with them having to evacuate their trophies and everything like that, because I feel like they're probably not the only team that has had situations where kids have lived outside the area, but because this group of black kids and a predominantly white sport, they just had an eye, like all eyes are focused on them. And when it comes to baseball, that's not a sport that a lot of black communities play. So some of the parents probably just wanted their kid to play with this elite group. And I'm glad that they're getting reinstated back in.
Okay, very good point. Very good point. Yeah, that whole thing just, you know, when it happened afterwards, it just didn't pass the smell test. It just seemed like they had a lot of factions against them. It was clearly a lot of people were angry at the fact that they advanced when no one saw it coming, and it just seemed like it was almost like systematic that they were going to just try to find a reason to kind of take away what that team had accomplished. I just felt like it just didn't pass the smell test. So I'm happy that they're able to seek reinstatement. Of course, it's 6 years later, but you know, I'm still happy that it looks like some justice may come from this. This is something we definitely want to keep an eye on and see what happens moving forward, because we certainly don't want to see this happen to another team somewhere down the line where their reputation and their character are maligned, particularly when you had some coaches out there who had some ulterior motives for so-called reporting all of this. In any event, that's something we'll definitely stay tuned on. Switching gears to the NFL. It's been a busy past week or so with the NFL, particularly for the Washington Redskins. After their owner, Daniel Snyder, had been very defiant over the past several years of never changing the name Redskins, it appears, like always, money talks. So FedEx, who owns the stadium that the Redskins currently play in, had requested to the owner, hey, one more time, we think, you know, it's particularly in light of the things that are going on in the country right now, it's probably a good idea to change the name. Once again, Mr. Snyder was defiant. He invoked to FedEx the fact that we still have 6 years remaining on our contract, our lease with you all, so it's really nothing you can do about this. Okay, enter Nike. Nike decide they can do something about it. Nike pulls all Nike-related Washington Redskins material from all of their online sales. It's not out there. Guess what? Now all of a sudden, Mr. Snyder's reconsidering a possible name change. Darius, talk to me. Is this a case? Is this, A, do you agree? And B, is this a case where, once again, money trumps all?
To answer B first, money does trump all.
Yes.
He already said once the money, if it's not affecting his money or his pockets, he wouldn't be changing. And that's what led the companies to do what they did. I think this is a change that's been adhered out there for a very long time now, before even the times of today. A lot of people have been protesting the fact that the Redskins need to change their name. I think Dan Snyder, I think it's time to do that. With today's day and age, for you to be able to change your name, you can be able to change everything. Yeah, it's going to cost you millions of dollars, but it's people that are hurting from this, or being hurt from the fact that your team is called the Redskins. Right. It's going to change. I mean, Nike does all the outfitting for the NFL. So that's pretty much, you won't be having anything made until you change your name. So I think that's going to warn him as far as his pockets. It's going to definitely change his outlook.
Yeah. Jackie, what about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what Darius just said. It'll definitely cost some money changing the name, but it's going to cost even more money to, you're going to get even more money once you get that name changed and see that people were hurt by it. They were offended. Native Americans, they shouldn't be looked at in that light. So I definitely think it's a great thing that they're changing. And like Darius said again, the money, they don't want to lose money, so they definitely gonna look into that.
Okay, I'm gonna play devil's advocate slightly, and the only reason I'm invoking this is because it's personal for me. I invoked my high school, Westinghouse High School, the Warriors, West Side. Love my school, always have, always will. But I bring it up again, I bring my school up again because our nickname is the Warriors. And coming up, when we were in high school, so when I was in high school, we were proud of that name. And the mascot wasn't Indian. Matter of fact, city basketball championship 1977, Westinghouse versus Phillips at the Chicago Amphitheater, I was actually the mascot for that game. But we never looked at it as any kind of slight toward Native Americans or anything. We were proud to be called the Warriors and to have the Indian as a mascot and what have you. But you got to understand two things. A, I'm talking about the 70s. It was a different time. And B, none of us were Native American, so we weren't sensitive to how the Native Americans may have felt about not only Warriors, but the Braves, the Redskins. I mean, you can go down the line. We weren't thinking about it from the indigenous people, what they might think of it. So I'm going to bounce back to you, Darius. Do you have a problem with the name change? Do you think it's just the times and the culture that we're living in right now? Do you think it's time, or do you have a different opinion?
I mean, I believe it's time. Redskins' name has been up in flux as far as if it's going to change or not for a very long time now. The Native Americans have spoken out, especially with that name alone. They believe that it's very derogative toward them as far as them as their people. So I believe it does need to be changed. Even if you just change it to the Skins, I don't know, maybe that'll work. Just change. I believe that having the name Redskins is something that they don't want to hear or don't want to see anymore.
Jackie?
Like you said, because so many of us aren't Native American, we aren't as sensitive to the offense that name causes. But I definitely think that it's time for a change. We don't want anybody to be offended, and this pandemic has definitely put a light on all of the things that are going on in the U.S. So I definitely think some changes is going to take place.
Okay. I like, my 60 years of living now, I like to think I've evolved. And also, I think that the climate, the culture that we live in right now, if you have a name or you have something that offends a certain segment of the population in that manner, it probably is time to make a change. So I don't have a problem with it at all. It's probably long overdue. And I think the time for, we never meant to offend anybody, I don't think we can use that as an excuse anymore. It is what it is. In this case, you have a lot of people, Native Americans in particular, who are offended by those type of names. So it's probably time to make that change. So I understand, why it's happening. And of course, once again, the only way you can affect real change is usually through the dollars. So that's what's happening. So we'll see what happens if the name changes, what it'll be, when it's going to happen. My only advice is to any team changing, I would stay away from anything that has to do with the an indigenous people, what have you. Think of a name, call them the Flames or something, do whatever, but stay away from that. It's a new day now. Okay, sticking with the NFL. The NFL has decided that they, at least for the first week of the season, assuming there is one, they are going to play Lift Every Voice and Sing at the beginning of every game, at least during the first week of the season. Now, I've heard some pros and cons about this, and I'll weigh in afterwards. But Jackie, talk to me. What do you think about Lift Every Voice and Sing being played before all of the games on week one?
It's not enough. Why can't it be played the whole season? Why only week one?
Good question.
It's not enough.
All right, yes. Yeah, why not? Yeah, why can't it be played for every game? Darius, what you think?
I think I'm a little bit opposite as far as that. I mean,
Come with it. Okay.
I think I agree as far as it's not enough, but I don't think that was what should have been done. If you want to look into maybe taking away the national anthem and doing that as far as having something being changed, but I believe just adding, I don't know. I just my feel and my the belief in just that's going to be enough for us, or that's going to show or going to help towards change? I don't believe it will.
Okay. I look at it like this. I'm one of those people that I take my victories any way I can get them, all right? And oftentimes I've learned in life that things don't always happen immediately the way we may want them to. But a win's still a win to me. I'd rather hear Lift Every Voice and Sing at least the first week than no week. I agree that why not play it every game? But it's like a lot of things in life. Change is hard. Change is very hard for people. People say it all the time, well, change is part of life, until it's time to change. And we have to, if not necessarily agree, we have to respect and expect that a lot of people are going to fight change, right, wrong, or indifferent. I don't have a problem with Lift Every Voice being sung, whether it's the first week, if it's every week. Hey, prior to this, we had never heard of that in no football game. So I will take Lift Every Voice and Sing, even if it's only for 1 week. As far as what, I think, Darius, you said something about, I don't want to put words in your mouth. Repeat what you said about what kind of change you think it might.
I don't believe it's not going to be enough to actually make a change or show a difference to where maybe NFL fans are going to be more aware of African Americans because we're playing Lift Every Voice and Sing before every game.
Okay.
I think it needs to be more than that. Than Lift Every Voice before every game.
Okay. Well, real quick then, I got to ask, what would you want to see?
I would see, as far as like more African Americans within NFL or working within the NFL, or them showing that they're being placed within the NFL as far as higher ups. Or even if you have some of the owners come out and say that some of the owners present more than not saying anything. Because have we heard any real owners say, yeah, we're with them, yeah, we're here for BLM? I haven't heard any of that from the NFL. Or the apology to Kaepernick. Can I get an apology for Kaepernick? Can I say that maybe Kaepernick was shunned out of the NFL over those years for something that still is being brought to today? I think saying, hey, we're going to play Lift Every Voice before every game, we taking care of y'all. I don't see that.
Okay. And to be fair, I've heard a lot of African Americans that have some issues with not so much it being sung, but they don't feel it's going far enough or what have you. Jackie, what about you?
Yeah, it's so many African American players in the league. There's not many African American coaches, not many African American owners. But it's definitely some change that needs to take place. Like Darius said, the Colin Kaepernick situation, he was peacefully protesting, and now you see the whole world's protesting. So somebody needs to apologize to him for the way that they treated that situation.
Okay. All right. Well, I will say this. The fact that, trust me on this, the fact that the NFL has agreed to do this, folks need to remember, Roger Goodell is the commissioner of the league, but he really works for the owners. So for him to say that this is going to happen, I can guarantee you that the owners have signed off on this. There's no way he would be able to say this if this hadn't been agreed upon. We may not have heard from any owners about it, but trust me, if this has been agreed upon to the point it's been announced, it's been, the owners are well aware of it, so they had to sign off on it. So, we'll see what happens. We hope that, Lift Every Voice is just the beginning of the other change that we need to see, particularly as it relates to African Americans in the NFL. So let's stay tuned and see what happens there. Maya Moore, the great multi-champion WNBA player, and, she won, a couple of championships, I think, at UConn. Maya Moore has been retired now, for about 2 years? Yep. 2 seasons? And she played a big part in helping to free a prisoner, and the key word is free, who's finally been freed. Darius, enlighten our Kroc Nation on this story behind Maya Moore.
Well, most fans, I know when we first heard of Maya Moore retiring from the WNBA or just stop playing basketball, it was a very shock because she was at the top of her game. She has won every award possible within WNBA, NCAA, even some overseas championships, I believe. So with that being said, her pulling out of her career to actually go on a mission, or believe that she had a mission to complete. I believe at first we all thought it maybe was a different mission, but for us to finally come to this head as far as her getting people released or having this gentleman released from prison who was wrongfully accused shows that her mission was well worth it. She left the WNBA to continue this mission as far as helping with her name being a key part within this man's case of helping with getting this man out of jail. So we do want to applaud Maya Moore for doing that. It's
Absolutely.
not easy stepping away from a career that you're very good at to do something that's not easy.
And she left in her prime. It ain't like she left when she was about through. You know what I'm saying? Jackie, what do you think about this?
Yeah. Maya Moore, she's always been one of my favorite basketball players. She's a champion at every level. I watched her when she played at UConn and then with the Minnesota. She's one of the top athletes in the world. She's an elite athlete. And like Darius said, she's won so many awards and accolades for what she does. And it just shows her character for her to be able to step away at the time where she was just hitting her prime, for her to step away and just say, I'm going to help somebody to change their life. That was just amazing. It's a selfless act. I applaud her for it.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, hats off to Maya Moore. It's one thing to speak on it. It's another thing to do it. And this young sister definitely has. So she, already had respect for her. Certainly as a player. I don't know her personally, but always respected her views and opinions on things. But anytime you can put action to your words, you get tall props from me. So hats off to you, Maya Moore. We hope to see you again back on the court. You're still young. I know you still got them hops and everything. So, if and when you feel it's time for you to come on back, you trust me, you'll be welcomed with open arms. All right? Okay. And what I'm going to call is, in the world of sports, the dumbest idea of 2020. There's been talk in the NBA of a Chicago bubble for the remaining 8 teams who didn't get invited to the infection league, I'm going to call it, down in Orlando, which is probably a good thing for them. But now they're going to have infection league too here in Chicago, supposedly, where you want to have a bubble. You want to have these non-playoff teams who ain't got nothing to play for. There's nothing going on with them. You want to now create another environment for some more people to get infected, possibly. Jason, now that you've joined the show, help old man out here. What am I missing?
The same thing that all of us are, because like you said, there's no incentive for you guys to even play.
None.
So I have no idea, big bro. I guess just to make inclusion, I guess, because they felt left out. Like, I want to catch the corona too.
The left out league.
I want to catch corona while I play basketball too. So I don't know. I have no idea. But it is what it is. I hope it's not here, because they're thinking about choosing Wintrust Arena. So I hope it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because I frequent 22nd Street a lot. I don't want to have to divert my attention and my plans just because
Right.
the NBA traffic is down there. But I understand why they would do it there, because there's a hotel there, so they can have people concentrate.
True.
From leaving the stadium
True.
to at least living in like an Olympic Village type of situation.
Right. Okay. All right. Darius, what about you?
I mean, the NBA, I think that was an idea, but I don't think they should continue with this idea. First off, bringing into a place like Chicago, we are a very, very busy city. So to have an NBA bubble, and as Jason said, within Wintrust or maybe within Wintrust, that's right in the middle of downtown. I mean, I can't see a very good bubble keeping people out of that bubble.
Right.
Orlando's, I think, is a little bit different because they have a whole land. As far as us, it's a lot going on. And then as well as we've seen travel bans within our own state, people coming from different states. Some people may even think that's because of the NBA bubbles coming. So I mean, that right there is something that we can't. We're on the up. We're on the rise as far as a state when it comes to COVID. We shouldn't be inviting other teams or inviting a whole league to come and play within our state. It's
Agreed.
something we need to change.
Agreed. Yeah, NBA killed this idea. That's all we got left to say on this. All right.
Sit at home. Just stay home.
Yeah. Jason,
Bottom 8
I'm
teams for a
going to
reason.
bounce back to you again. Before we close out the show, we are seeing, which I think is great, HBCU migration taking place. And I want to talk to my two college basketball experts in Jason Dawson and Darius Jackson. Y'all talk to me. We talked, I think we mentioned McCure Maker last show going to Howard. Jason, talk to the audience out there. What's going on with this migration?
You know what? We've been hitting on it a couple shows now, but it's coming to fruition. It's not just more lip service anymore.
Right.
These kids are socially aware. These young people are socially
Very.
aware. And they know their impact on society, especially when it comes to that, what we said, the bottom line. We said that earlier, Daryl, the bottom line, hitting the pockets.
Yep.
So they know that the thing about HBCU is most of them are great educational institutions.
Absolutely, to begin with.
Forget the sports aspect. You're going to get a great education. So these kids are seeing not only that, but I can make a name for myself and a legacy. I can probably start a trend by doing it. So hats off to McCoy Maker. It's another young man, Elijah Fisher's thinking about doing that. He's thinking about going to Morgan State. You've got Nate Tabor at Norfolk. You've got Mikey Williams, who was I think he was the kind of the Pied Piper, if you want to call somebody, because he actually put it out there as a top prospect. He put it out there that it's going to be a great thing if people start going to HBCUs. And hats off to the 5-star McCoy Maker for making it happen, man, at Howard. You are a game-changing young man.
Absolutely. Darius?
It's great. Once again, shout out to McCoy Maker for making that decision and going to Howard, changing the pace of as far as top recruits going to that school. I believe he's the #1 center, number 14 in his class. So that's a huge makeup. He will be an NBA player. He has family within the NBA. Yeah, he does. So he does have his NBA ties. I think he'll bring a lot of exposure to Howard as well.
Right.
I think a lot of these guys that do choose to go that route, it will change the narrative, especially with it being basketball. Basketball is a sport to where one person can change the whole outlook of a team.
Yes.
So having 1 or 2 top recruits coming to your school can change the outlook of your team for the next 1 to 4 years, depending on how long they stay. With it, if it was like another sport, say for football, it may be a little bit harder because it's more within a team. But like I said, with it being basketball, with these top recruits changing it for basketball, and all of them being able to be on the national scale as far as the national NCAA tournament, hopefully one day we will see a Howard versus a Duke in the finals.
I would love
Sorry.
it.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, this is a win-win for college sports, basketball in particular, for everybody, certainly for the HBCUs, for these young men, for the networks, because now you're going to open yourself up to a whole new, a brand new audience that you probably never had before. I think it's a great thing. I look forward to this migration. I hope it just gets bigger and bigger as we move forward. All right, everybody, we're about to close out this edition of Kroc Sports Talk. But before we do, we have next week's poll question, and the question is, should all indigenous team mascot names be removed from particularly not just pro sports, but college? Names like the Braves, the Redskins, the Chiefs. Should these names be removed and changed? That's going to be next week's poll question. So y'all get your answers in. Once again, we want to thank our hosts, Ms. Jackie Foster, Mr. Darius Jackson, Mr. Jason Dawson. We want to thank our production crew because without them, there would definitely be no us. We want to thank the Salvation Army Rand Joan Kroc Center. We want to thank our majors, Major John and Johanna Pook, for allowing us this vehicle. Most of all, we want to thank you, Kroc Sports Nation, for taking time out of your busy lives to spend this half hour with us. We want to thank you because definitely there would be no us without you. Remember, all things can be done through Christ who loves us. You all be cool, be safe, have fun, and we'll see you same bad time, same bad channel. All right? Take care, everybody. Peace.